But I think
Let's go! Benzinga Nation, jam-packed show today. Peloton up 5%.
What's up, disciplined investor?
We got Benzinga CEO Jason Raznick here with us.
The man, the myth, the legend, Tom Nash.
Peter Schiff on the Power Hour with us live today. Interesting, different, unique, innovative companies. Mia, you are live with us on the Power Hour. What's up?
Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Jessica Billingsley, that is the CEO of Akerna, the best trade idea resource out there. Yo, what is going on, everybody? Happy Monday! Woo! We are back at it, ready for another week. Let's go. Monday afternoon, 12:01 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to everybody hanging out with us in the chat. Smash the like, share the stream. Tell us what you're looking at today, because you are now joining the Power Hour. This is the Trade Idea Show, okay? We're spending these 60 minutes together every single day for one reason. We want there to be no better trade idea resource out there. Tell your friends this is where the ideas are flying. Every single show, we're dropping 5 ideas. They're trades that we're making, we're trades that our guests are making, we're trades that AB's making, that Jason's making, etc. So let's dive straight into it, guys. Agenda for today. We have 3 stocks to talk about right up top. Three hot trade ideas to talk about right up top. We're going to be getting to those in just a minute. In about 10 minutes from now, Young Investor is going to be joining us, hopping on the stream, taking us through his favorite picks. And then at 12:30, Shinobi Signals is going to be joining and dropping some of his swing trades, okay? So I've got my 3 swing trades I'm going to be talking through in just a minute here. Young Investor is going to be taking more of a long-term investment idea type approach. And then Shinobi Signals is going to be dropping in some of his swing trade ideas. So it's going to be pretty packed today, Brewster AB. How does that sound to you?
I'm pumped. I mean, like always, Luke, we're going to have some trade ideas flying in the chat today, flying from the Benzinga Power Hour. And let us know. I mean, call us out if you don't like the trades we're making. But I'm excited. Right off the bat, we got Spirit Airlines pulled up, ticker SAVE. And Luke, what's your thesis on Spirit Airlines?
All right, so here's the deal with Spirit Airlines. This is a swing trade that we hit long on Friday. Okay, we hit it long on Friday. This is a 1-year chart, daily candles of Spirit Airlines. Here's the thesis in short. Okay, whenever I pick a stock, buy a stock, I need 2 things. What are they, AB? I need a story and numbers. I didn't give you a chance to answer. Those are the 2 things that I need. All right. And for everybody who's just joining us, coming over from the other show, we're just diving straight into 3 hot trade ideas, 3 hot swing trades right up front. And then Young Investors joining us in Shinobi Signals. So we're going for 10 ideas today. Okay. That's what we're going for on the Power Hour. But all right, Spirit swing trade. We hit on Friday. Stock was down. It was down about 4% when we got into it. The news, I'm going to zoom us in. This is this big red candle from Friday. The news that came out basically was that Spirit canceled about 50% of their flights. Okay, it's a shit ton of flights. Here's why that was a story that I wanted to buy the dip on. Is I think that Spirit Airlines is basically like the 1950s. You may not like what it does to you or your body, but people are hooked and they are not going to stop booking those Spirit Airlines flights. So I bought into the weakness. That's the story side of things. On the number side of things, check this out. We have a low right down here, 24.5. That's the low that we're watching on Spirit. We're going to stop out if we fall below this. But otherwise, the hope, if the trade works out well for us, is that we will bounce off of this low and get a nice little swing trade here. So that's the move on Spirit. I am long it. We bought the common stock. So I'm going to throw this one out to the chat, guys. This is interactive. If we're dropping ideas, we need that instant feedback, so put it in there. If you guys like the Spirit Airlines trade, hit the 1. If not, hit the 2. Again, entered it Friday. It's a swing trade, still sitting in it. Story, canceled flight, stock sold off, buying the weakness there. Don't think it'll impact financials. Numbers, we're coming right up on this big line of support. AB, thoughts?
You know, Luke, I've been kind of staying away from the reopening trade recently, just with the increased fears regarding the Delta variant. But, you know, this is one that I think if it gets beaten down a little bit further, then I'm going to get in on.
All right. So your mix on it, I see it in the chat. Poor participation. That's horrible, guys. Okay. Poor participation. We got a lot of twos. Everybody who did participate did not like the twos. I see somebody in the chat saying, anybody figure out why the flights were canceled? Spirit blamed it on an array of reasons. They said tech issues, staff shortages, weather, etc. It was all BS. Okay.
Yeah, we saw that a couple weeks ago. I believe it was Southwest had a lot of flights canceled, and there was some tech issue from a third party company that was to blame, but I think right now we're seeing more and more flights getting canceled across the board. And Luke, I like to invest in companies that I am a customer of. So if I go out and buy plane tickets, I'm not looking at Spirit as my first choice.
No way. That is bullshit. All right, let's ask this one to the chat. Who here within the past 1 year, and granted it's a weird COVID year, took a Spirit flight? I did at some point. I guarantee it.
I have.
There's just times where the cheapest flight is $700, and then there's $100 Spirit ticket. That just happens. The world just works like that.
And shout out Luke Jacobi. I actually flew Spirit out of Detroit one time when Luke and I were going to the airport together, and I was trying to avoid the Spirit hassle of having to pay for extra bags. And Luke said, pro tip, if you just wait till right when the flight is boarding and you just rush through the gate with your bags, they will not charge you. I did exactly that. It worked perfectly. I was the last person to board. I saved $60 of bag fees thanks to Luke Jacobi. So not only does this guy have hot stock picks, but he's got hot travel tips as well.
Yes, that is the move. Okay.
So go through it one more time. Is it as simple as waiting till like the very last minute, and then you?
All right. And so for anybody who's just joining us, I got long Spirit on a swing trade on Friday. We just talked through the thesis on that. Now we're talking the Spirit travel hack. And so here's what it is. Whenever you have a carry-on for Spirit, they charge you for it. I don't think there's any other major domestic airlines that charge you for that carry-on. And so here's how you get around the Spirit overcharging on the carry-on. Is you wait till the flight is fully boarded. There's nobody left. They're doing the final call before they're about to close the door. And you just run up there out of nowhere, scan your thing, and keep going. Don't even give them a chance to bring it up. Obviously, have your bag like at your side, on the opposite side. You come running in. You're the last one. So sorry, I'm late. Beep. Boom. On the flight. No extra charge.
Boom. Hopefully we don't have any executives from Spirit Airlines tuning in right now. Otherwise, that hack may be, they might start enforcing that a little harder. But we've got a lot of pro tips on this show. So if you're looking for more tips, Luke is full of them. But all right, Luke. So we got to Spirit Airlines.
Trade 1, trade 2. We're doing three swing trades. 3 minutes, guys. A fun little game I like to play. This is a risky game, but a fun game that I like to play is I like to filter through all the stocks that are reporting earnings every quarter, and each week have one earnings play. Last week, our play was carparts.com, ticker PRTS. We're sticking with the stock after earnings, but we nailed that one. Look at this run up after earnings. Monster 20% jump in share price. Stock is tripped up at these all-time highs, but we are sticking with it for now. So carparts.com, that was last week. This upcoming week, ticker, let's get a little fake drum roll. Rocket companies. That's my trade. All right, guys. Here's a 1 year daily candle chart. I'm gonna zoom us in because there was a couple weird days in there. But here is the chart of Rocket companies. They are reporting earnings after the close on Thursday. This is the stock that I am loading into and going to trade long into their earnings report on Thursday. Couple of things going on here. One, I think that the estimates for this quarter are really light. So check this out. Estimated revenue for Rocket is $2.9 billion. Look at how much they put up in all the preceding quarters. The decline in revenue is due to softer refinance market, due to a little bit of softer home buying market. But keep in mind the quarter that we're going to be getting this report from. It's going to be April, May, June. Was that slower than the preceding quarter? Probably a little bit. But guys, the housing market was still hot. Let me tell you the second reason why I'm getting into this name on the earnings report. We're going to look at the income statement. All right, last quarter, the company put up $4.5 billion of revenue. I want to show you how much net income they put up. Where is this line item? There it is. Boom. Put up 123 million of net income. Income before tax, because there were some weird tax things going on. $2.8 billion. Okay. That is a ton of money. What is the ticker for this? The ticker is RKT, and yes, it is Rocket Mortgage. Okay. So their EBITDA last quarter, 2.8 billion. I think there's a decent shot that we get a buyback or a special dividend in this report. They've already done both of those in previous earnings reports. It does not seem like the market is pricing in that they will do it again. But again, I think that they have a good shot at blowing out the estimates on the sales side. I think that they're going to put up a ton of cash flow, and we'll hopefully get a buyback or a special dividend. So we're 1 for 1 on our earnings picks. Hopefully we'll go 2 for 2 after this week. Opinions on Rocket, guys. RKT, if you like it, drop the 1 in the chat. If not, drop the 2. I want to see where everybody's at.
Yeah, I want to know just in general, kind of with our chat, what's been going on in the real estate market this past year? Has anyone in the chat drop a 1 in the chat if you have bought or sold a home in the last year? I know Luke Jacobi did. So I think that this has been just an incredible time for not just home buyers, but home sellers have just been selling houses so quickly compared to how long a house is usually listed on the market.
Again, the forecast by analysts is that they're going to drop from 4.5 billion of sales to 2.9 billion of sales. Keep in mind the quarter that they're reporting for: April, May, June, spring home buying, summer home buying. I think that there's almost no way that they missed that number. And Rocket has beat every single quarter that they've been a public company. Keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important too, Luke. Looking at what a company has historically done on earnings, and then there are certain companies that just blow earnings out of the water consistently, and I like betting on the side of history.
Yep. Boom. All right, we have our first guest of the day ready. So there you guys have it. This is the Power Hour. This is the Trade Idea Show. We just hammered through 2 picks. We're sticking with Save. We're sticking with Rocket. We even threw in the bonus carparts.com. We talked about that one at length last week, so we won't dig into it a ton this week unless we get some serious breakout. But let's go ahead and bring our first guest of the day on the show, our favorite young investor. What is going on, young investor? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, especially the movements in peak. Luke, how are you doing?
We're doing well. Let's dive right into peak. 1 second, and somebody in the chat, we talked about Rocket a second ago. They're like United Wholesale off of Rocket Pop. It's definitely a sympathy play there. But young investor, let's go. If you guys don't know young investor, he is our now 13, I believe, right?
Yep.
13-year-old stock picker doing deep DD, digging into companies that we've never heard about, and giving a very thorough thesis on those. You just alluded to peak. You like the move in there today. I'm going to go ahead and pull that chart up. It's what? PKKFF?
Yep.
All right. PKKFF stock is up 17.5% today. Can you tell us what the company is, why you like it, and what is going on today?
Yeah, so peak has been on fire recently. So I think we're over 83% last month. So, we've been really on fire recently. So you don't know, effectively, Peak is a Canadian-based company headquartered in Canada. There's right now solely operating out of China. Basically, if you're a small business owner in China, you would go onto the Peak app. For example, I'll talk about some of the other possibilities about how they get these customers in a minute. You would go onto the Peak mobile app. You type in all the details about why you want the loan, your financial situation currently, and Peak will then match you with somebody who'd be willing to lend to you, and then they will connect you to a major Chinese financial institution. So then Peak would then take a 1 to 4% fee out of that.
So basically it's a loan originator, right? Like they create the interface and the customer experience for small businesses to get loans, correct?
Yeah. So Peak have already signed deals with J.com, ShopX, and the biggest food manufacturer in China, and one of the biggest in the whole world. So effectively, the people who supply to J.com, ShopX, if they need to get lending, Peak has signed a partnership with J.com and these companies for you to be able to go onto the Peak app. Say you're with JD and basically you want a loan for, let's say, a short-term loan of 8 weeks to be able to get some supplies to J.com for, let's say, a big festival such as the 618 festival, which we had recently in China, which was one of the Peak's highest volume weekends ever. So as we can see, Peak's really been on fire, but I do still believe this is a very cheap company. So, first I'll address the matter, which always lies in the room whenever I talk about the stock. It's a China issue. It's China, China, China. We all see what happened. We've all seen what's happened with Diddy, Alibaba recently.
I'm long Diddy.
Yeah, but we've all seen it. We've all seen, the concerns which people have. Well, right now the Chinese government is primarily cracking down on companies which store users' data. So companies like Didi will store your data everywhere you've been on their app, on their technology. Peak do not do that, which takes them kind of out the picture to be able to be cracked down by the Chinese government. Another strong sign that Peak are not at risk of being taken down by the Chinese government, which is a great deal in itself, is they recently they have a sole subsidiary, so UnionPay, which is kind of the biggest credit card network in the whole of China, one of the biggest companies controlled by the Chinese government. They are operating. They had a subsidiary called Rongbang, which was effectively working with Peak on a trial, and they've been doing it for a fair few kind of higher profile people, a few select clients who may want to be able to get loans from Peak on their website and on the app. So it already picked up substantially in June. According to their press release at the time, it was around 1,200 transactions during the month. Now the important thing about this is then UnionPay, effectively through their subsidiary Rongbang, they asked Peak to take a stake in this company. Now with basically Chinese-owned, Chinese-controlled entity asking a super small company like Peak to be able to take a small stake, which was less than 1% of Rongbang, for approximately Canadian $500,000.
So UnionPay invested $500K in Peak. Is that accurate?
No. So basically, UnionPay have a subsidiary called Rongbang.
Okay.
So now Peak have a partnership.
And UnionPay is huge, for all
very
context.
Very
huge,
important.
massive Chinese payment company.
Yeah, one of the biggest companies literally in the whole of China. So they had a subsidiary called Rongbang. Now Peak have a trial with Rongbang currently for their app with a few select clients, which did pick up substantially the amount of clients who are lending on the trial. So then UnionPay asked Peak FinTech Group to take a less than 1% stake in Rongbang for around Canadian $500,000. The important thing about this is the biggest payment provider in the whole of China, controlled by the Chinese government, have asked Peak to take a small stake on subsidiaries, really strengthening the relationship which they have. And it also allows Peak, when they go into meetings with a lot bigger companies, to say, look, we've already got a partnership with UnionPay. We also have a stake in the UnionPay entity, which we were asked to, which also shows that, in effect, they've got confidence in the Chinese government and people will want to work with them more. We've also had news they will be launching. So, for example, they have a few different hubs for different areas, kind of materials. So they're now planning to launch a new steel trading platform. And this is just some of the news they've had, as well as opening 2 new offices in Guangzhou and in that kind of region. And one important thing is one of these offices are right next to Alibaba. So, I really think Peak is really strengthening that relationship with the government. And with foreign expansion soon to come for this company, hopefully by the end of the year, for North America and then across the world.
And young investor, I got to drop an air horn for you. Because you first pitched this stock on this show when the price was somewhere around $2. I don't know exactly what the price was, but it was somewhere around $2, and we crossed 6 this morning.
Yeah, so they did have a 2-for-1 reverse split. So I think the stock's almost still up around double, so I think around 85%, 85, 86% since I've talked about it. But this 2-for-1 reverse split, they have now done the NASDAQ requirements needed with the share price. As we can see, it's been on fire. And we have, with this, we can expect...
So we have an uplisting. Yeah, okay.
So we uplisting to NASDAQ, which gives them a greater institutional value within the stock. So lots more institutions will be able to buy them. A lot more investors will be able to buy them. And you've got to remember, the amount of people Peak are working with in China are huge. The amount of people seeing this product are huge. There are plenty of Chinese investors through one of your stocks, I believe, Luke and Tiger Holdings, some of the others, I think maybe Futu, will be able to buy this stock. So many people are seeing it. If investors in China can now get into this stock when we uplist. We've already met all the requirements now. it's imminent at the end of this month. We should have been uplist. We should uplist in Nasdaq.
And
I
has
believe
has the
it's part of
company
many
given
more
that
games.
timeline for uplist, or is that your estimate that it'll be end of this month that we get that uplisting?
Yeah, so we've been told the uplist will be in about a month or so.
Okay, excellent. All right, that never hurts. And so where are you at with it now? I'm guessing based on what you're saying, you're up, damn near 100% on your holding. You're staying long and strong. Is that accurate?
I'm staying long and strong. I believe this is an extremely undervalued company for what the other companies are out there. I believe right now we're still talking about a 3-4 price sales on peak, maybe even less. So this is a company which, in my opinion, is phenomenally cheap. The price, the growth, the foreign expansion.
What is revenue up to?
Pardon?
Revenue? What's their revenue at?
Okay, so this year we're expecting 106 million Canadian markups in Canadian as well. And then the year after that, we're expecting just around, I think it's 323 million in revenue. So this is also, and then I think we're expecting around 500 in 2025. Now this is all China. Now, this sounds like SPAC valuations. Not SPAC valuation necessarily, but a SPAC kind of revenue target, that made up revenue target. When you dig deep into it, the amount of cities peak are in right now, I think that they are around 50 or 60 now. Maybe in the 40s. So, peak only penetrated a small portion of China at the current time. And this company, I believe, still has huge potential to expand all across China. And then with foreign expansion added to that, and even if in theory they did disappoint on, let's say, the Chinese earnings in 2025, I'm sure any foreign earnings will be able to get that back up to that number. As we see foreign expansion to this company, this could be a truly multi-global company. I'm sure in a few years, this market cap will be well into the billions.
All right. So let me ask you one more question. When you found the stock, it was like a 200 million market cap, OTC listed. It's Chinese based, or Chinese operating rather. How did you find this?
Shout out to the people and stock fam. I'm sure they're here. So I get told about a lot of things by different people. And I was recommended by someone in the chat today, Mike Penny Loaded. He told me about this originally. He said, look into the stock. So I get a lot of requests on a weekly basis. So I don't really, I saw some key figures that she was putting out, which I'm going to say seemed a bit ridiculous at the time. I did the DD into this company, and and StockFam have done an amazing interview with the CEO JJ. I talked to him for a few minutes on this very show a few weeks ago. So this really is a stock. If you want to start, go to one of these places. They're filled with excellent DD, which is really forms the basis of why these people are in it. There are plenty of places to find out about peak. It's not one of those murky OTC companies you had to go and dig super far hard into just to find the basic numbers. This is a phenomenal company, with a phenomenal group of investors behind it. They're supporting the company.
And I got to say this one. I got to throw this one out to the chat too, guys. Young investor pitched the stock to us when he was 12 years old. I don't know what you guys were doing when you were 12, but I sure as shit was not reading SEC filings and pitching. Or sure as heck was not reading SEC filings and pitching stocks like this. Okay, so big round of applause for young investor. Drop those clapping emojis in the chat. I mean, pick the doubler. Again, he first pitched us this one when he was 12, and it was not the first winning stock he's pitched us. Okay, I want to ask you about one more. App Harvest. It's one that you've talked about before. We have earnings in 2 days. Do you have any opinions on this one into their earnings report?
Yes, I'm obviously, App Harvest is one of the smaller positions in my portfolio. I've got a few smaller holdings, but yeah, I'm really hopeful going to this earnings report. We're not going to be seeing real App Harvest revenues till I would say 2022, 2023. They did do a raise recently to be able to get to be able to reach that kind of 6 kind of different centers across different states and really in the heart of the United States. So I'm really hopeful for App Harvest. We've also seen SG Blocks recently.
An App Harvest is it's basically like an indoor farming company, correct?
Yeah, and they're able to grow
through their website now.
Yeah, they're able to grow food. I think so. Right now, they're only growing tomatoes. They're able to grow these tomatoes. I think it's around 3 to 4 times faster. Phenomenal technology they've got. Other stocks, SG Blocks have been on fire. I think I talked about them around the $3 zone. I did actually sell out recently around the $4, but I think they hit a high around $5.57.
But what's the ticker on that one?
SGBX.
There we go. Thank you. And remind me what this stock was again.
Yes, this was the container company.
Right. Yes, this one was really cool. Let me find the pictures of that.
And this was the company when I pitched it, had basically the market cap in cash. When I pitched it to everyone here.
Right.
So,
I remember that.
No, market cap in assets actually. So, I was
Guys,
really
check this out. This is everybody's dream job, I think. Literally everybody watching this, including myself. They take old shipping containers and turn them into stores and residences.
It's so cool. And this
So
is one
cool.
of those. This is one of those companies which have so many different uses. Homes, they've got partnerships, Starbucks, Puma, different type stores out of these shipping containers. As the people watching the show can see here, they don't look all that bad. They don't look like an ugly shipping container. They look like amazing pieces.
Yeah, like check out the Starbucks. The Starbucks thing is sweet.
Starbucks, look at that. You can't really say that's the location which you think, oh, that looks all manky. These projects really do look really nice. Some of my portfolio personally has been on fire recently, but I think we just still got a lot of upside to come in these stocks.
Okay, so you still like the stock. You said you sold it, but you still like it?
I sold at a nice profit, but I do still like this stock really much. I actually sold the stock and put the money into Peak. Peak is my number one stock right now in terms of profit in the next 3 to 5 years going forward. But there's so many other stocks out there which are really really under the radar. Stocks like this I do think have the potential to really explode also in the coming years.
All right, and young investor, we're going to have to hop off in a minute here, but do you have anything new that we haven't talked about? So far, we talked about Peak, talked about App Harvest, we talked about SG Blocks. I don't know if there's anything else that is catching your eye.
So apart from the stock I've already talked about before, CleanSpark, which I'll note this on CleanSpark. I think a lot of people have already heard of the stock.
Yep.
They were profitable in
Q1.
One. Yeah. So they're profitable in Q1, the stock. I will say we're expecting actually a loss this quarter instead. This is not a loss on operations because they held Bitcoin. They now had to register as a tax loss, even though they haven't sold. It counts as a loss actually on their income. Income is a loss. So they will be recording a loss on operations. They should be profitable.
That's great. If they still hold the Bitcoin, all it is it's a tax mechanism.
Loss.
Exactly.
They get a tax benefit there as well.
Yes.
Not having to pay taxes, maybe even get a small rebate. So that's actually good for them. We'll see how the stock reacts. That you don't get the investors always doing that. Really looking into that loss and why that loss happened. But this is a stock I really like. I think if they reach their current projection around, I think it's 9 Bitcoins a day by the end of this year. That's around $135 million a year alone for this company. It's got I think 150 million in cash plotting Q1. 474 million market cap. I love this stock. I love this stock as well. This makes up a good portion of my portfolio. I think it makes about 13%.
And the thing that I think is compelling about CleanSpark too is that you have both the SaaS microgrid business. They do software as a service for microgrids. If you haven't looked into microgrids, check it out. It's a pretty cool concept. But they do the SaaS for that, and then they also do the Bitcoin mining.
And
so the stock trades with that price of Bitcoin very closely, as we can see from the pop today.
Yeah, and you can also use the microgrids to also sell microgrids and their current technology of Bitcoin mining, which has one that is the lowest carbon-free mines per Bitcoin right now. You can combine those together, sell them to the other blockchain companies currently, who obviously want to lower their costs. Don't quote me on this, but I believe Mara or Riot's around $20,000 per Bitcoin. This company's at $6,000. This technology can also be leveraged with other companies.
Awesome. I'd be curious. I don't know if we have anything. I know part of the infrastructure bill coming through the states right now that the Senate is voting on tomorrow has to do with the energy grid. So I'm curious if there's anything with microgrid in there. So I'll have to go dig deep in there and see if there's anything in the infrastructure bill that could give CleanSpark a nice little boost.
Yeah, but when you look at the profit on Bitcoin right now, which they're achieving anyway, Bitcoin's not going back to 6,000 in my opinion. Combined with microgrids, this is just one of those another fantastic opportunity in my portfolio.
Yeah, and then Zach, going back to the SG blocks, do you know? So right now in the global market, shipping container rates are like super expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's impacting the company because I'm sure they try to get good deals on the shipping containers. So maybe they've slowed down their production as they're waiting for the prices of shipping containers to fall. Yeah,
so on SG blocks, from what I kept up to date with the company, we had a rise They mainly buy theirs from the United States. These are old, unused shipping containers, which can be used on another vessel anymore. I'll also say we're in their financial statements on the SEC, which I was reading up. They have a fair bit which is not in cash. So for a company which is moderately small apart from a factory, I would assume they already had quite a supply of containers they were needing to start making. So I think they do have a little bit of run rate in terms of containers they've already brought, from what I read from the SEC filings and kind of what I interpreted.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking that as shipping container prices fall, this stock could get even more interesting as they're able to kind of up their production by finding more and more suitable containers that are cheaper and in their price range, versus right now they're probably paying way more out of pocket per container than they would like to, even if they are, not being used currently. Yeah,
I 100% agree with that. And I think just one of those small little companies which are really making a difference, buying these unused shipping containers. I absolutely love some of these smaller stocks right now. I think there's just so many opportunities in the market with stocks like Peak, SG Blocks, another smaller stock, Clean Spark. There's just so many opportunities right now waiting to be fairly valued.
100%. Well, thank you again, Young Investor, for hopping on the show. And Zinger Nation out there, please smash the like for Young Investor. If you're not going to do it for Luke, if you're not going to do it for me, do it for Young Investor. I think it's very impressive what he's doing. I certainly wasn't doing this at 12, 13 years old. So Young Investor, just keep it up. Keep up what you're doing. We're all fans here.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, AB and Luke. Really appreciate it as always.
Of course. Always reach out when you have new stocks you're looking at.
Of course.
All right. That was Mr. Young Investor joining us from England. Some very interesting stock picks today. We checked up on Peak, which he originally gave on the Power Hour a couple months ago. It's seen about 100% gain since then. We also checked out SG Blocks as well as Clean Spark. But we do have our next guest here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to that. Jacobi, what's up, man?
Yo, what's up? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot. So we got Shinobi Signals coming back on the Power Hour with us. Shinobi, for anyone who might be tuning in for the first time with you on the show, can we go over some of the stocks that you've previously talked about on the show before?
Yeah, starting off, we called Clorox, CLX. Let me pull up the chart. Yeah, we called Clorox when it was around like 175, and then it ran all the way to like 192. We called it before Jim Cramer. That big spike you see.
This one back here?
No. Right after that.
Oh, down here.
No, a little more to the right.
Right here.
Something like that.
Something like that.
That's April. It was in July. So you see where it says July? Right there, that first big green can off. Yeah, right there.
Got it.
That was awesome. That's where we called that. We had Home Depot HD. We called that around like 315, and it ran to like 336. I played options on these, so my gains were leveraged compared to just the stock price. And then we called the only loser I had so far was Corsair, CRSR, and it was holding this demand zone for the longest time, and then it broke under, went from like 30 to 28. Not a big percentage drop, but wasn't expecting that. I was hoping for a bounce, but nonetheless, it went from 30 to 32, then went back to the 28s. So I mean, it was green before it went red. So yeah.
Definitely. I trade options too, Shinobi, and it's always hard when you have a trade that's profitable but you're still bought into the thesis. Like, this should run further, so I'm going to hold on to these calls. Of course, that's kind of a position where you can sell some, keep some. But yeah, so I want to go through a couple things, Shinobi. Just about your general strategy, like what signals are you looking at when you see something like Clorox, Home Depot, Corsair that looks like, okay, this is an opportunity where it looks like this stock could run. And then 2, I want to get into see if you have anything on your watch list right now, any stocks that look enticing to you at the current time.
Yeah, so I'm about to share my screen real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so let me know if you guys have it pulled up, and I'll just start.
Yep, I'm pulling it up right here. So we're looking at Clorox right now.
Yeah, so let me show you guys, my main thought process when I'm looking at stocks right now. So, my strategy always changes with the market. Right now, we saw, a huge beatdown from January into, now, even with the hot market last month, we're still seeing some stocks recover. So what I mainly look for is downtrends like these. So I'm going to actually make this a little thicker so you guys can see. So downtrends like these that are being broken, and usually you can see when they break with decent amount of volume and they have like some sort of squeeze going on, you can use the TTM squeeze, which is a free indicator on Thinkorswim. You can, that's how you identify squeezes. I'll usually play the uptrend or the downtrend break, and then I'll enter a call position here and slowly scale in. So, when it breaks a resistance like 180 right here, I'll add in more. And then, when it pops, I'll scale some, I'll add back. So mainly what I'm looking for is just downtrend breaks like these for like longer swings, and, those have been working very, very well. Also, I like playing gap fills a lot. So I'll go into another stock I like playing stocks on the daily, right? So the daily chart is my favorite thing to look at because I can enter 2 to 3 weeks out. And, the implied move on the daily is usually, going to be a nice move on the stock, right? So it's not going to be, we're not playing for pennies when we're, trading on the daily. So right here, Roblox had this falling wedge type shape. And when it broke out, people like Lockheed, Prophecy, me, we all called this out. Roblox, we called this downtrend break. I actually added on this retest. So there's two things that happen, right? A stock breaks that downtrend or that pattern. It initially breaks up and it'll keep going up, or it breaks out, then comes to retest that level. And then you use that as a confirmation, to add more. So right here, you can see that this candle right here, when it came to retest, was actually very low volume. So this red candle, didn't have that much, fire behind it. So we added back here, and then you can see we picked up a nice 400% gainer today on a Roblox. And
so is that a good sign to you if you see a green candle on not a lot of volume?
No, this was a red candle, right? This is a red candle right here. It's
okay.
The candles paint with the trend, right? So if it's an uptrend, the candles are going to be green. If it's in a downtrend, they're going to be red. So the hollow candles are green candles, and the filled in candles are red candles.
Got it. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. So if it's a red candle on low volume, that's usually an indication that the move isn't that strong, and that and if it's still in a uptrend, that means it's really not a confident move by whatever's moving it. So you can always add on those, and that's what I did here. And we got paid 400% today. That was awesome.
And are you on your options, or is that what you're mainly doing, looking out like 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah, so I like to size heavier, right? So with options, it becomes difficult, especially on like lower small cap ones. So I'm really looking at big companies like Roblox, Clorox, HD, to where I can enter a big position, and when it makes that that move, that move that we need it to make, that I can get in and out of my options, fairly quickly, because I'll be able to get filled, because now you see a lot of Roblox option flow coming in, so it's pretty. That's like what I like to play on like larger companies.
100%. And so with options, I mean, are you mainly looking at stocks like Roblox that have good volatility? Or I know Clorox does too. But something that I see a lot of traders that are newer, they'll start trading options on everything and not realizing that there are kind of some stocks that are better to trade options with than others.
Yeah, man. So what people have to understand is, when you buy something, someone else is selling it to you, and then when you sell something, someone else is buying from you. What you have to understand, the important thing about volume, is people will buy contracts on stocks that have zero volume on, their contracts. And that means like no one's selling it, no one's buying it, right? So you're going to have a hard time, unless that stock makes a really nice move and goes in the money, you're going to have a really hard time selling those options to someone because no one else is buying them. So it's just, you can't play options on everything. You really have to pick and choose and be careful on what you play options on, right? So Roblox has volume. The contracts, they have, look at this volume, 13,000, 3,000, like it has decent volume and open interest. That's what you really want to look for when playing options, is the open interest and volume, just to make sure that if you get in, you're not going to have a hard time getting out. And just know, if there's volume on the contracts, that's usually a good indication that the contracts are going to move well with the stock. So that's another good thing, because there's sometimes stocks that a stock will keep ripping, rip 20% in a day, and the options won't move because there's not enough volume backing it, because IV's so low.
Yeah, I've definitely had that before with some smaller stocks that don't have the volume, where it's like, what the hell? The stock's up 5%, but my calls are either flat or they're down.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's check out. Someone in the chat's asking to take a look at Corsair. Maybe we can head over to Corsair for a second, but I want to know kind of what else is on your watch list as well.
All right, yeah. So for Corsair, I added right here. So, or no, it was right here. We added right here. It bounced to 32, bounced off our demand zone really well. You can see it was holding it for the longest time. And then it actually dropped under the demand zone. Now it's rejecting the demand zone. So that's kind of bearish right now. But, I still have the stock in my Roth. I've been adding it. It fell after earnings. So, it's still a really good long-term stock in my opinion. Just like, I'm playing options on it right now, especially with the market being so overvalued. I just can't justify playing options on it right now. Back then, in July, I was able to, but, right now it's just not looking good.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, this is one that we've seen just some crazy volatility on, as far as like the spikes way up and then it'll come down. So yeah, it's definitely hard to get a gauge for like the personality of the stock when it's doing so many crazy things like that.
Yeah. So, another, like you asked, like stocks that I'm looking at right now. So on my Twitter, I'm actually doing like a small account challenge, where I'm trying to build before we built a small $1,000 account to 10,000 in 1 week, trading SPX. I did that live on Twitch once. And then we did a 500 account challenge that went up 400% in under 2 weeks. And now people wanted me to do a 100 account challenge. So a super small account challenge. And right now I'm looking for stocks to play on that. And right now, I'm really looking at the stock Sage. So the reason why is, well, first of all, on the 5 minute had a decent setup, but then it broke to the downside. But on the daily, it has that setup. I really like that downtrend. Today, when I was checking it out, it was already above that downtrend. So I'm waiting for this daily candle to close above for me to enter. And then also they had on this website called Dataroma, they have insider buying info. And then their CEO and president bought $1 million worth of their stock, when it's down 50% from its highs. So, that's also telling me that, they might have some news coming up there. If the CEO is confident in the company to spend $1 million of his own money to buy his own stock, that's very, very bullish. That's a bullish thesis for me. That's all I need to know. And especially with the technical setup, this can really pop in the coming weeks. So that's number one on my list. I'm also really looking at MSTR. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys know I played this on Friday. So I took a really large position on this for 800 calls expiring this week. I took it over the weekend, which was, stupid risky. Don't do that. But, it gapped up from 750, like 40 to like 800 this morning. Also because, it follows Bitcoin. It moves like, really, really nicely throughout, intraday. And also on the daily, it had this downtrend that it broke and it actually gapped up. So I actually took 112% on these calls. So MSTR, I'm hoping it comes back to like 750 to retest that breakout. And that would be really nice. And, Bitcoin's running really well. So I'm also watching that. And then Riot right here has that similar breakout. It actually gapped over it. So right now I'm just hoping that it breaks 40 and then we can see 45 or like 44 in no time. So I'm actually going to take a position in like Riot 45 calls probably for this week because it looks like Bitcoin is getting its news back. It's showing up on all these news outlets again. It's starting to pick its bull run momentum back up. So I'm really watching Riot as well. So Riot, MSTR, and Sage are my bullish stocks. And then I'm actually bearish on one stock that I have a short position in. So I'm looking at UPS. So the reason I'm looking at UPS is because they had this gap fill to the upside. After they lost on, or they did their earnings, they fell. It had this uptrend that it was holding. It broke that. It broke. Initially, I entered on this red candle. It broke there, but then they had a $5 billion buyback, and back above, and now it's rejecting that uptrend and coming back to check out this gap fill it has from 190 all the way down to 180. So once it initiates this gap fill, I expect this to, like drop heavily, like $10 move down to the downside. UPS, that's going to be a nice move to catch, especially if the market's turning bearish. That's why I'm mainly looking at stocks that don't follow the SPY right now, like Riot and MSTR that follow Bitcoin because, Bitcoin's running. But I'm not really bullish on too many stocks that are, that follow the overall market trend. So I'm really bearish on UPS as well. So those are like I think that was like 4 stocks that I'm looking at.
Yeah, we got Sage, we've got Riot, we got UPS, and we got, what was the last one? Corsair?
No, Corsair.
Monster.
Yeah, Monster.
And then real quick, Shinobi, how are you getting short UPS? Are you just buying puts? Are you actually shorting the stock? What's your strategy there?
All right, so I actually have puts. I have the 180 puts for 820. I have a decent sized position in that, but then I'm also shorting the actual stock. I actually started shorting at around 193. So when it had that buyback, because historically speaking, whenever it has these buybacks in like 2 to 3 days, it'll run up like 5 to 10%, then come back to its original price. So when it had that buyback news, I actually shorted the stock, and I covered at like 191. And then, if it comes back over this uptrend, I'll take another short position. Hopefully, it's rejecting here. I should have taken it, but I was too busy. But, I'll take another short position there. But, I'm mainly just looking at the puts because, with shorts, I constantly just stare at the stock,
Right. So real quick for some of our newer investors in the audience, what is the difference between just buying puts on a stock and then actually shorting the stock? And what are the kind of benefits of either way?
All right, so buying puts on a stock is, it's trading options. You're trading contracts. You guys already know what that is. It's like when you're basically betting that the stock is going to go down, leveraging, using options. You basically go in with less money, all that, yada, yada, yada. So, but shorting is basically when instead of buying an actual stock, you're actually selling the stock. So I think Bill Ackman had a nice analogy. He's like, say your friend has a coin collection, right? The coin market's hot right now, but you think it's going to go down soon. You ask him to borrow his coins. And, in that case, your friend is the broker. You're borrowing the coins, or shares, quote unquote, and then you're selling them, right? So say you sell those for $1 million, right? And then a month later, the coin market drops. You buy those same coins back for 500,000. You give them back to your broker or your friend. And then, you keep the difference, which is 500,000. So same thing here, you're borrowing shares. You sell them at a high price and then you buy them back lower. So that's the difference. And the benefits for options is that they're just cheaper. That's the nice part. But they have expirations. For just straight shorting, you don't have to worry about expirations. You don't have to worry about the Greeks. It's just if the stock goes down, you're making money. It's just simple as that.
And then real quick, not for me, because I know the candles. I'm like a technical analysis guy. I just can't get enough of technical analysis. But how is a green candle really a red candle? Can we go over that one more time?
On my chart right here?
Yeah, is that just on your chart?
Yeah, it's just on my chart. It's also if you go into settings, you go into appearance, you type in candle trend, it's going to show the same thing, right? So on Thinkorswim. So the way my candles work on this indicator I'm using is if the stock is in an uptrend, it's going to show all the candles green. So it's, visually appealing and, it's easier to read. So all the green candles are just the hollow candles. All the red and you can see this was a red candle, this was a red candle, this was a red candle. The rest are green, right? But it's in an uptrend. When it goes into a downtrend, the hollow candles are still green candles, but the filled in candles are red candles. So it's showing you that the red is in a downtrend, green is in an uptrend. So if I go into like the 3 week, right, you can see when it was in an uptrend, then went into a downtrend, then up, then down, then up, then down, then up, then down, right?
Got it. Yeah. Again, not for me. I get it. I get candles, but for maybe someone else out there. No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted some clarification on that. All right. Going on. So we checked on UPS is your short right now. We're long Monster. We are long Sage. And what was
Riot.
the other one? Riot. Yeah. And so what I guess like my only concern on the Riot trade is we've seen Bitcoin run up so much already, and Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies are so volatile that if Bitcoin gets hit, say overnight tonight or tomorrow, where it goes down a few $1,000, then Riot will be trading lower, right?
Yeah. But I mean, that's just the risk you take. Same with MSTR. MSTR over a $2,000 move on Bitcoin went up $60. So almost a 10% move on MSTR, and that paid 100%, right? So say Bitcoin dropped like $3,000, those contracts would have been down very bad. So it's just a risk you take when trading options, especially on, volatile companies like that. Right now, I just think Bitcoin is going to make a run to like 50,000 before it has a drop, and if it drops, I'll load on some dips on, these type sympathies. But I don't think Bitcoin's just going to hit like an odd number like 47,000 or 46.5 and just completely clap itself back to 40K. I think it's going to go for 50 and then come back because, most of the retail investors, they have their limit set. Like, when Bitcoin hits 50K, I'm going to sell it,
Right.
So that's,
I was going to apologize. I said monster earlier for MSTR. It's MicroStrategy. Shinobi, come on, man. You should have corrected me.
no, I call it monster too.
You call it monster too? Yeah.
Everyone calls it monster, but the stock is a monster, so I didn't really mind. I don't own the company. That's not my problem.
Right.
But yeah, MSTR is a really good move for intraday. Oh, also one more stock. I forgot to mention this. FUTU. So FUTU, look at this support. It's been holding at 100, right? So it's actually setting up really nice as well on the daily. Not like the best, but right here you can see it's making a sort of like wedge shape at this support and it's breaking out. If it can break above 120, this can be a nice move back up to 130, then gap fill to 135. So also keep FUTU on your watch list. This could go either way. Over 120, I'm bullish. Under 100, I'm going to short the living crap out of it. Because
do you think if we get above that 120 level and we break out to maybe where that previous green candle is at the 140, I mean, what's like the bull case? Can we get all the way back up to those previous all-time highs of 180?
I mean, that's when I'm already out of the play, So what I'm looking at is, this gap fill right here, right? This is what I'm looking at, and then I'm looking at this gap fill right here. So what I would do is once it breaks this 21-day moving average, as you can see, it's, had it as a resistance for a while. When it breaks out, it usually tends to run. So if it breaks this, with nice volume, you can see the candles picking up some volume. If it breaks over this 120 level, I'm expecting it to go to 130 and then, gap fill to 134. Once it hits like 133, 134, I'm already out, right? Then, you look to re-enter back at this 152 to 160 level, right? Then you trade it there rather than just holding it through this entire move, because anything could happen, right? After a gap fills, it could just completely drop again. You always want to be collecting profits. Basically what you're doing when you hold it this long, you're just selling to chasers, right? I don't really want to hold all the way to 160. I think a move to 140 is already going to pay, a decent amount. But if it breaks that 160 level, I do think it's going to hit 180. And 180 you can see is such a significant level as well. If it breaks 180, we'll see 200. So the stock really likes to move by whole numbers like 120, 140, 160, 180. I don't know if that's just the psychological warfare going on with the stock, but it's something to look out for.
Yeah, I think it's always important kind of learning the different personalities of stocks and how they've moved in the past. And we can use that information about how a stock has moved in the past, not to necessarily predict the future, but just have an understanding of the way a stock is going to move. And it gives us an advantage in playing it. Yeah. And you mentioned you were going to be short this stock. What's your signal to get in on the short side? Is it just if it can't get past that moving average?
Yeah, so honestly, my short, if it can't break past that moving average, that's not a good enough reason for me to, take a put position or short it. I really want to see I want to see a candle close under this 100 level, right? This 100.5. We'll look at how well it holds. And, if that happens, that means the rest of the market is also dropping. So if that happens, I'll be taking a short position. But you also have to see, there's a 10 times better opportunity for, a long position over 120. Look at this 120 level, right? Every time, let me pull out like my circle tool. Every time it comes to this level and bounces or, it breaks out above that level, look at how well it does, So right here, I'm watching that. Then look at the 140 level. It's the same thing, these levels right here, this 140, 160, these levels act as such they're so important, once these 20s, they move by 20. So, if it breaks 140, expect it to move to 159. If it moves from 120, expect it to go to 140 type of thing,
Yeah, 100%.
It's honestly a really, really nice setup now that I'm looking at it. So I'm actually going to move this up to over 120. I'll be taking a large position on it. It looks really, really good for a move to 140.
And you're just worried that right now, kind of in the interim, in the meantime, that if it starts going down, then it's going to be less likely to make that move up, correct?
Yeah, so if it drops under 100, it's gonna have its own problems. People have their limits set at 100 or their stop losses set at 100, so it's just gonna, basically market makers are probably just gonna hunt stop losses after it breaks 100, and it's gonna tank to like 80 most likely. But I'm really really watching this 120 level right now because I have no you could see, how much volume it picked up like 18 million volume when it actually had this insane drop under 100 and then wicked back up. So actually dropped to 95. So, if you're playing puts and a $5 move on a volatile stock like Futu it would pay very well. So yeah, I really like it.
And then Shinobi, when you see a stock like this that's like at a good level already, and then you see some consolidation, you see some trading sideways in the chart, what does that mean to you? Like, do you like that? Is that a bad sign?
Oh, I love it. So let me show you an example of one of my favorite plays. I called so Etsy. I called this like a while back, like in June, end of June, right? So it had a strong move down. It had this consolidation happening. So this tells you one of two things, right? Also, look, it had a high squeeze. So it's telling you one of two things. Either the stock is gonna drop, or it's gonna, when I mean drop, it's gonna tank. Or it's gonna just rally, because that consolidation is it's in a high compression zone. It's consolidating. That means buyers and sellers are fighting. When it breaks out, FOMO chasers are coming in. People are buying up. Algos are hitting, and then you can see the stock ran from 174 when it broke out all the way to it ran up basically 20% on a large cap like Etsy. That's awesome, right? It ran up 20%. But that's why I love consolidation, because it just poises the stock for like a large move, and that's just really good, because you have a bunch of people shorting the stock here, you have a bunch of people going long, and then once it breaks that consolidation, the shorts understand oh, it just broke past this consolidation, we're gonna have to cover. They start covering, FOMO kicks in, people start buying, algorithms start seeing a noticeable move, they start kicking in, this profit taking happens, creates a bull flag, boom. So I really like to see sideways action happen on stocks that are at key levels, because it's just showing that the stock is building up some momentum. It's just cooking something.
Yeah, I do too. I like seeing the consolidation. I like seeing it trading sideways for a little bit. I actually help produce another show that's coming up next called Get Technical, where we really do, it's all about technical analysis, whereas Power Hour is more general. We do everything. But that's one of the things that we like to point out on Get Technical is we basically say the bigger the base, the bigger the move up. So the longer a stock's been trading sideways, the more poised it is for a big move up.
Yeah, it's great. It's things like this. Newer investors have a hard time understanding, because there's so much background knowledge that goes into. You have to understand why the stock's trading. People be like, oh, why is the stock trading sideways? It's because you have to understand. The market's made up of people, right? People and algorithms. Algorithms are fighting each other. People are fighting each other. Some people are buying, some people are selling, right? So when it's moving that sideways direction, it's not because it's being manipulated more so. It's more so that, people are looking at these levels. One thing I want everyone who's on the show right now to understand is technicals only work because everyone uses them, right? 21 or the VWAP wouldn't be, used as support or resistance if people didn't consider that, right? People's stop losses are if it breaks under VWAP, I'm selling, right? If it goes over VWAP, I'm hopping in, right? That's the reason technicals work. So when it breaks above VWAP, people start buying the stock and it shoots up. If it breaks under VWAP, it's not necessarily because the VWAP is this magical line. It's because people, it drops. Hold up, I just got a message. I'm sorry.
You're good.
But that line, if it breaks under, then everyone's selling. It's controlled by people. That's why VWAP worked. That's why these consolidation levels work. People bought right when it broke 175 here, because that was the top of this consolidation. You see what happens. When it breaks past support, like right here, under 190, people are like, oh, if it goes under 190, I'm going to sell. It drops down to 154, because so many people are selling. It's just things like that. Like this bull flag, people are like, okay, well, I'm going to wait for it to break above this bull flag. When it does, I'll buy the stock. When that happens, it runs up in like another 10%,
100%. Yeah. And I just realized I don't think I've had you on Get Technical before, but we got to get you on, since you're one of my favorite technical analysis guys to watch and listen about how you're finding these stocks and when you're going to get into them. So let me know We do that show kind of starting right now, actually. So we do got to wrap up.
Yeah, man, dude, just let me know.
Will do. All right, Shinobi. Well, thank you for hopping on the Power Hour again today. I do have your Twitter in the description. And if you're here for Shinobi, if you're part of the Shinobi army, smash the like. We got some great trade ideas today between MicroStrategy, Riot, Sage, a short position on UPS. So the trade ideas were flying out of the chat. Shinobi's in the chat. The Twitter. Yeah, I'll make it easy. I'll drop your Twitter link in the chat as well as in the description. And again, smash the like if you got some value out of Shinobi coming on the show today.
Hopefully you guys learned something. But yeah, yo, give my homie a follow too. You know, he deserves it. Yo, once you see, invite me over to Get Technical, bro. I'll go in like 20-hour rants.
Oh, we will. We have a special guest today, tomorrow, maybe sometime later this week. Later this week we'll get you on. Yeah, and thank you for coming on today. I know you had some family stuff going on too, so I appreciate you making the time for Benzinga.
All right, thanks, man. All right, take it easy, bro. I appreciate you guys having me.
You too. I'm excited to watch these calls.
All right, take it easy.
Yeah, have a good one. All right, y'all. Coming up right now, we've got Get Technical. We have special guest Chris Capri. We're talking option strategies. So if you want to learn how to make money using options, stick around on Get Technical. You do not want to miss this episode. I will give you guys my Twitter. Someone's asking in the chat. It is AaronBree5. I'll drop the link in the chat. But yeah, head on over to Get Technical with us. We're about to have a good time. Make some money trading options. This video will automatically redirect you over to Get Technical if you just hang out. But without further ado, let's get over to Neil.